talk. So these were the basic definitions. But apart from giving the basic what we call background of ethnographic work, Delheims also provides a kind of hierarchy, a nested hierarchy. That is, the biggest concept will be at the outset. In that you will have smaller. In that you will have smaller concepts. Okay, so he is proposing four basic concepts here. First is speech community. Second is speech situation. Third is speech event. And fourth is speech act. Now here the speech act is the smallest unit. Okay. Okay. And it is part of a speech event. So there is one speech event where you can have one or more speech acts. Okay. So in other words, you can say that when you combine one or more speech acts, you will get a speech event. Okay. Then there is one or more speech events together make a speech situation. Okay. That is, a speech situation is made up of one or more speech events. And when you can collect all the speech situations of a community, that community is called speech community. So that is the first and the most important concept. The concept is called speech community. Yes?
So can you repeat? I didn't understand.
I will explain everything. I'll just introduce it. Okay. So the first concept is speech community. So Delheims gives 5 characteristics of a speech community. That what is a speech community? So a group of people to whom a particular ethnographic description applies. Ethnographic description means their practices, their rules, their regulations. The entire group of people follow the same practices, same rules, same regulations. So that is the speech community. Okay. So for example, right now if we say that we are all now the B.Ed students of Navrachana University. So we have to follow the same rules. We have to follow the same timetable. Okay. We have to meet each other. We have to, and we are doing everything for the same goal, that we want to pass the course of Bachelor of Education. So we, at a small level, we form a speech community. Okay. We form a speech community of Bachelor of Education course in Navrachana University. Okay, so now there are 5 characteristics that is given by Delheims. So the first characteristic Delheims says is one variety of communication. Variety of communication. Okay. That is, all the members of one speech community, they all use same language. Okay. Their variety of communication is same. Now Delheims is not using the word language. He is using the word variety. Now what is the difference? Okay. Say for example, we all use English language. Okay. How many of you don't know English language? Raise your hand. We all know English language, right? All the British people use English language. All the American people use English language. So can we claim that we are the part of British speech community? Yes or no? No, Manali is saying no. And Sonali is saying yes. No, we cannot. Why? Because the English language that we are using is different from the English language used by British or American or Canadian or New Zealand or Australian English speakers. For them, English is their mother language. Their pronunciation is different. Their sentence structure is different. Their vocabulary is different. And their manner of communication is also different. The way they communicate with each other is also different. Like when we are meeting someone in India, we first go ourselves and introduce ourselves. If someone is there, we are probably sitting in the same room, and we go to that person, we introduce ourselves, we take their introduction, and we start talking. That's very normal among us. But in British culture, okay, if there are two people that don't know each other, okay, then they will not talk until unless a third person who knows both of them comes there, introduce both of them to each other. So after the formal introduction by third party, they will talk. That's a rule of communication for them, not for us, though we are using the same language. So this is why there is the difference of variety. Like say, in case of let's say Bengali language, there are different areas where different varieties of Bengali is spoken. Okay, so in Assam also they speak certain variety of Bengali. In Bangladesh also they use certain variety of Bengali. Okay, but all those varieties are different. Okay, and that's why they don't consider to be one particular group of people. They belong to two different states or two different nations. Similarly, in Gujarat, say in Baroda, we speak a different Gujarati, and in Saurashtra, we use a different Gujarati. So that Saurashtra Gujarati is called Kathiawadi. So what is the difference? The difference is accent, the way you speak, your tone, your intonation, your vocabulary are different. So many times, even if the person is using the same language, but because his tone or intonation is different, we cannot understand what the person is saying. So that's why what Delheims is saying is one variety. That is, Barodian Gujaratis will form one variety. Surti Gujaratis will form another variety. That is another speech community. Kathiawadi Gujaratis will make another speech community. Okay, so that's why variety is important, not the language. Second rule, same rules of communication, of interaction. That is, whatever language we are using, we are understanding the same way. You're understanding the language.
Communication of
Same rules of interaction. I'll put it in chat box. If you can check on your mobile, I have written it in chat box. So, like if I say, how are you? Okay. So that is a simple question. It's a greeting. So there's a rule that how to reply to the greeting. Okay. Like we normally say, I'm fine. Okay. So that's a very normal rule and most of the people follow it. What if I ask you, how do you do? आप क्या जवाब दोगे?
I am fine. What
I'm
about?
fine, okay. What about you? I'm fine. What about you? Anything else that we can answer?
I'm doing good.
I'm doing good. Hmm? Anything else? Okay, in terms of
So we can also ask how it's going.
how are you doing?
How it's
Right?
going, that also we can ask, yes.
Yeah, how is going? Okay. Now in British culture, again I'm giving the same variety example. In British culture, if a British person asks you, how do you do? You have to reply, how do you do? If you answer anything else apart from how do you do, then it will mean that you are insulting that person. Okay. Why? This is a what we call rule of interaction. Now you must be thinking that if you are not supposed to answer, then why is a question? Okay. How do you do is a question, but you don't have to answer. You have to give the counter question. How do you do? Then how is it a question? Why do we ask then? Right? So again, we have to think here that when you ask someone in our Indian context, in Bengali people say ki holo, okay. Or in Gujarati we say kem cho. What answer do you expect? जब आप किसी को बोलते हो
मजा
कैम छो
मजा
कैसा है,
I'm good. I'm fine.
मजा
हाँ,
All well.
आप सच नहीं बोलोगे वहां पर. इवन इफ यू आर नॉट वेल, फाइन. अरे यहाँ तक कि आप हॉस्पिटल में किसी की खबर देखने जाओगे तो वहां पर भी वो बेड पे लेटा है, वो बॉटल चढ़ रहा है, ऑक्सीजन लगाए हुआ, और वहां बोलोगे कैम छो कैसे हो, अच्छा है पहले से. दे विल नॉट टेल यू द ट्रूथ. व्हाई? बिकॉज वी डोंट वांट टू लिसन द ट्रूथ. वो ग्रीटिंग है, वो क्वेश्चन नहीं है. It is called fatigue communication. We do it in order to start the communication, in order to maintain our relationship. We, अगर कोई इंसान आपको ऐसा सवाल पूछ रहा है कैसे हो, कैम छो, हाउ आर यू, और उसको ये रेगुलर जो जवाब देते हैं हम आई एम फाइन, उसकी जगह सच जवाब देना शुरू कर दो. कोई बोलेगा आपको हाउ आर यू और आप शुरू कर दो, अरे जाने दो ना, बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम है लाइफ में, वो बिग बॉस में वो बहुत चिल्लाता है, आईपीएल में वो जीतता नहीं है, मेरी गाड़ी खराब हो गई है, सब बता दो जितने प्रॉब्लम चल रहे पूरा तुम्हारी लाइफ में. वो इंसान 2 बार आपको वो सवाल पूछेगा, तीसरी बार से वो सवाल पूछना बंद कर देगा. क्यों? बिकॉज दे वी आर नॉट कंसर्न विद द आंसर, एंड दैट इज व्हाट वी कॉल द rules of interaction. That there are certain rules and we know those rules and we behave accordingly. Okay, so this is all the members of the community, they know those rules and they behave that way. Okay, so that is what Del Hymes is also saying, that all the community members have the same rules of interaction. So if someone breaks the rule, we identify that he doesn't know how to talk. Okay. Then third rule is frequency of interaction. Okay. All the members of the community, they interact very frequently. Okay. That is almost on a daily basis they interact. They know each other, they interact with each other, they send messages, they receive messages. Okay. So there is constant communication going on among the members of the entire community. So as I gave you the example of, let's say, Navrachana B.Ed class. So that is our community. The teachers are also there, the students are also there. We interact very regularly, at least once in a week. Either we interact face to face with each other or through some other medium. Okay, like teacher is delivering a lecture, so everybody is there, so you are basically in the same interaction. So all the community members interact with each other very frequently. Fine. So even if like you are far away from your community, but you will find people who are closer to your community, and then you develop that interaction groups. Okay. I was living in Saudi Arabia for 6 years. So even there we had a group of Indians. Okay. And we used to meet almost every week. Okay. Fine. Similarly, you have the Bengali groups in Vadodara. Okay, so you can get in touch with them. Or there are South Indian groups in Vadodara itself. So now you are hundreds of thousands of miles away from your community, but you find out a way to be in contact with your community. Okay. So that is what Delheims call frequency of interaction. Then number 4 is same us feeling, or the feeling of identification. Okay. That is, you as a member feel that I am part of this community, and community also feels that this is our member. So that constant and mutual feeling for each other, identification for each other, is a requirement to be part of a speech community. So there are people who may be a part of a speech community, but they don't feel for the speech community, and they don't want to be part of that community. I'll give you one very interesting example. I hope you remember Michael Jackson. If you have seen his earlier videos and dance, he was black. His skin was black, and over the period he underwent a lot of operations and surgeries, and he converted in himself into a white person because he was not identifying himself with the black people. Okay. So that feeling of not being part of something, or that feeling of being part of something, that's a very important thing. Okay. And the same Michael Jackson then sings the song black and white, black or white wala ek song tha uska. Okay. So he's telling us that there is no difference even if it's black or white, and then he converts himself into a white person. Okay. Similarly, like I am working on a painting of one famous black artist, female artist. The painting is called in uh, sapiosexual. Okay. And normally the tradition nowadays is you don't write black woman or black artist. The tradition is the artist of color. This is we normally write when we write on in critical terms. So I wrote my article about that mm, particular painting, and in the introduction I have mentioned that the painting is made by the mm, artist of women artist of color, Terry Meredith, and I sent it to her, to Terry Meredith, and asked for her feedback. So the only feedback she gave was that don't use women artist of color. I am primarily a black artist, and use the word black. I want that word in this article. Okay. So that is identification, that I feel for black women, black people, and I'm working for them. And so you also use that identity when you are writing. So this is what we call identification. So we feel for our community, and community feels for us. So that mutual feeling is what we call identification. The fifth characteristic is common goal. That all the members of the community have a common goal, that is they
Sir,
look forward to. Yes.
I am not able to see the chat.
What are you using?
Uh,
Can computer or mobile?
mobile.
Hmm. So you have application, right?
Yes.
Okay. So on top of your application, uh, there
Mhm.
is this symbol of what we call the chat box. I'll just screen share.
Sir, it's not showing. I'm using my laptop.
Yes, sir.
The chat box is there, but inside that nothing is visible, like the messages you might have sent now, but the topics we are discussing. The
But I
points
don't
are
see.
not coming.
Okay, that's interesting. No problem. I'm recording this. You can take it later on.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll be sharing these files that I'm teaching from. Already shared to few of you. Fine. So that Word
Okay.
and PDF files are there, which I'll share with you. So the fifth characteristic is the common goal, that all the members of the community, they have the common goal. They all feel that we have to work together to achieve something for the community or for the prosperity of the community. Okay. So that is the common goal, that everyone feels that the person has to do something for the community. So they will work together, all the members will work together, or there will be some groups within the member, within the community, and those groups will work together, or at individual level you work and you try to achieve something for the community. So that was the common goal. And then there is one more characteristic later added by a student of Delheims. His name is Savile Troike. The sixth characteristic is overlapping speech community. And this is a very simple thing, that at a single time we are part of more than one speech community. Okay. That is, let's say we are all Indians, so that is one speech community. We all feel for our country, okay, and we have our Aadhaar card, so we are all member of the country, okay, and we get happy when there is something good happen for the country, if the Indian cricket team wins the match and anything like that. Okay. That is one speech community. But at the same time, we are also part of a particular state. Let's say I'm Gujarati, I'm from Gujarat. I feel for Gujarat. Okay. So that is my second level of community. At the same time, I'm part of a particular city. Okay. I'm Barodian. Okay. And I feel for my city. Okay. So that is my third community. At the same time, we also think about the community of, let's say, we belong to a particular religion, we belong to a particular class, we belong to a particular caste. So that will also be our identity. Okay. I'm teaching in a particular university, that also become part of my identity. I identify with the university. University identifies with me. Okay. So at a single time, I am simultaneously part of, say, 5 force or say 10 speech communities, and all are possible and all are correct. So this is what Savile Troike raised, that we are as an individual always part of more than one speech community. Okay. So that is what he calls overlapping speech community. Okay. So these are the characteristics of speech community. Now speech community, a very simple thing. The first characteristic, variety of communication. Everybody uses the same variety to communicate. Okay. And that's why the second term, second concept that Delheims uh, proposes is of speech uh, sorry, yeah, speech situation. So speech situation, very simply defined as situations associated with or marked by the absence of speech. So I'll just bifurcate the definition. Situations associated with speech, situations where we can use speech. For example, lectures, we use speech. Birthday ceremony, we use speech. Marriage ceremony, we use speech. Get together, we use speech. Okay. So all these situations where we can use the speech, where we speak, we are in a speech community. But the second part is more important. Situations associated with or marked by the absence of speech. Absence of speech. In first part of the definition, we have seen that situations marked with speech is speech community. Second part says the situations where the absence of speech is there, it is also a speech community. For example, if you go to somebody's funeral, हम क्या करते हैं वहां पर? Have you been to someone's funeral? What do we talk there?
We don't speak there.
Yeah, we don't speak there. Our presence is enough. Okay, we have to be there, we have to show our face, and at most we say that I'm sorry. Okay. So funeral is a situation where we have to maintain silence. Okay. If we misread the situation, जैसे आपको मैरिज में बिहेव करना चाहिए था वैसा आप फ्यूनरल पर बिहेव करोगे तो क्या होगा? मैरिज सेरेमनी में जाते हो, वहां जैसे बिहेव करेंगे, वी मीट एवरीबडी, वी आर हैप्पी, वी टॉक विद पीपल, वी आस्क अबाउट फूड. तो वही सब आप किसी के फ्यूनरल में जाओगे और वहां करोगे तो
Insane. People will
आपका
consider us
फ्यूनरल
insane.
insane, yeah, that is, sorry,
bad impact on our personality. Bad impact on our personality.
yeah, it can give wrong image about you, one thing. Okay, because it is not socially accepted practice. आप लोगों ने ये फिल्म देखी है गैंग्स ऑफ वासेपुर पार्ट 2? तो सेकंड पार्ट में जब सरदार खान को मार दिया जाता है और उसकी लाश को घर लाते हैं, उसकी मैयत है और उसमें बाहर बैंड बाजा वाला गाना गा रहा है, बहुत सैड सॉन्ग गा रहा था, एकदम सैड फेस बना के गा रहा था, वो याद तेरी आएगी मुझको बड़ा सताएगी, वो गाना गा रहा था. बट ऑल द ऑडियंस इन द थिएटर वर लाफिंग. Why? Because we expect the decency of the situation. We don't expect the songs in that particular situation. There are communities where the songs are allowed in the funerals, okay, which are called merasims, okay, sad songs for the departed. But again, you have to follow the norm of that community. So this is the most important thing that we have to understand when we are looking at a speech situation. It is marked by the speech or it is marked by the absence of speech. That it is expected that you maintain absence. Maintain the silence. So these speech situations are not purely communicative. They may be composed of communicative and other kind of events. That is, speech situations themselves are not subject to rules of speaking, but can be referred to by rules of speaking as context. That speech situation will only provide the context, the background of the speech. So the rules of grammar, rules of communication are not directly affected on speech situation. They are directly applied on speech events. Speech events are part of speech situations. So that is our next concept, speech event. So speech events are both communicative and governed by rules for the use of speech. A speech event takes place within a speech situation and is composed of one or more speech acts. Speech act is the last part, we'll come to that. So for example, classroom is a speech situation, a situation where speech occurs. But lecture is speech event. Lecture taking place in the classroom is a speech event. So there are specific rules of lectures. So there is a person who gives lecture. There is a group of people who listens to the lecture. Okay. So there is one-to-one communication. There will be information. There will be feedback. There will be explanation. Okay. So the lecture is governed by the rules of speaking, not the classroom. Classroom is just a situation. Now suppose it is the same classroom, but the lecture is not taking place right now. You and your friends are there in the classroom and you are say eating your lunch. The situation remains the same, but because the event changes, the rules of communication will change. Okay. So situation will just provide you the background. The event will have the rules of communication. So how those rules are governed? Is it clear to us? Speech event and speech situation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let's move to the last part, speech act. Now speech act is called the minimal term of the nested hierarchy. A speech act is to be distinguished from the sentence and is not to be identified with any unit at any level of grammar. That it is not equivalent to sentence. That every sentence is speech act is not true. Okay. At times only a word can be a speech act, and at times the entire paragraph can be a speech act. Okay. So a speech act gets its status from the social context as well as grammatical form and intonation. So I'll continue the same example. Suppose in the classroom the lecture is going on. Now what happens normally in the lecture? Teacher enters into the class, so there will be greeting. Teacher will greet the students, students will greet the teacher. So that greetings is one part, it is one speech act. That greeting part is over, then teacher will revise from the previous class. Okay, that we did this in a previous class. Okay, so once the revision is done, okay, that is another speech check. Then teacher will ask for feedback, for response. And if you have any doubt, any question, any observation from our previous class, ask. Okay. So if there is doubt, any question comes, then teacher will try to explain. That will be yet another speech check. If that revision part gets over, then teacher starts a new topic. So there will be an introduction to the topic. So that introduction to the topic is one speech act. Then you actually explain the topic with detail and examples. That will be yet another speech act. And then you will conclude the topic. That is yet another speech act. Then you ask for feedback. feedback for the topic that you have taught. So that is yet another speech act. So within one event, there can be many speech acts. And combination of all these speech acts will create one event. Okay. But there are rules that you have to select this speech act, then this, then this, then this. Okay. You cannot greet in the end. You have to begin with the greeting. Okay. You cannot
Sir,
first explain.
in the
Sorry? Sorry?
in the classroom, we taking attendance is also part of act
Yes,
or
because it is
only for
some.
discussion.
No, no. Even anything, any communication in the classroom based on the topic of discussion, it will be a speech act. So attendance is something that is separate from other kinds of discussion. So that is also a speech act. Okay. So normally attendance is taken either in the beginning of the class or at the end of the class. Okay. So you will have to structure your event in a particular way, and accordingly you talk about it. Fine. So this is all we have in ethnography of communication. We talk about ethnography of communication, speech community, speech situation, speech event, and speech act. Okay. Now, if you have enough patience, then we can move to ethnography of speaking. The assignment that I have given is about ethnography of speaking. Okay. So shall we continue? कोई किसी को चक्कर आके गिरेगा नहीं ना? या कुछ ठंडा लेकर बैठ सकते हो आप लोग. Fine. So ethnography of speaking, I think I should share the screen so it will be easier for you to follow. The only thing is you won't be able to see me, I won't be able to see you. That's the only problem. I'm sharing a PDF file on screen so that you can follow what I'm. Ethnography of communication. Okay, can you see the file?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can read the title, Ethnography of Speaking, where speaking is all capital. Because he's using these letters SPEAKING as an acronym to talk about 8 different important aspects of communication. So do you see the PDF file or do you see yourself also?
Both, sir.
Both, okay. I'll just put down. Fine. So situation, the first thing, okay. Where the speech event is located in time and space, that is the situation. So here we make the distinction between setting and scene. So setting refers to physical circumstances of the communicative event, that physically where the communication is taking place. Whether it is taking place in the classroom, whether it is taking place in the canteen, whether it is taking place in the staff room. So these are all different physical circumstances. Okay. So that is considered setting. Okay. And where you are talking will affect the way you are talking. Okay, suppose you are in the classroom and your teacher is also there, then you will be talking in a different language and a different way. But you are in the canteen with your friends, then you might be talking about the same thing, but in a very different way. Okay. So that depends on the physical setting where you are talking. And the second aspect is scene, that is psychological and cultural setting of the communicative event. That is where communication is taking place. What is the cultural implication of it? So, for example, when a child goes to a school or a college or a university, the cultural setting and cultural understanding is that the child is going to learn something new. So, that is psychological setting. That a person comes with an expectation that I am here to learn something new. Fine. So, you are in the classroom, you are there to learn something new. You are in the canteen, to chill. Okay, you want to enjoy with your friends, that's why you are in the canteen. Okay, you go to the picnic, you have a psychological belief that you enjoy on in the picnic. Okay, so that is the scene, which is divided into physical and psychological setting, that is setting and scene. The second concept is P, that is participants. The participant is who takes part in speech event and in what role. So normally there are three possibilities. One is speaker and listener. So in our day-to-day communication, when we talk with people, both of us have equal chance of speaking. So one who is a speaker can become listener. One who was a listener can also become a speaker. They are equal in the participant role of speaker and listener. But when you say addresser and addressee, like in the classroom, there's a teacher who is addresser and there are students who are addressee. So the students have the right to speak. They can speak whenever they like, but they have to take permission. They are not equal in terms of their relationship with the teacher. Okay, so they can do, they do what we call respond, they do feedback, but the way listener used to give response, the addressee cannot. Okay, his or her response is limited. And there is speaker and audience. For example, there is a political speech, the political leader comes and speaks. Okay. You as an attendee, as an audience, you can just listen. You cannot give feedback. Okay. That feedback is not available. So even when you watch movies, okay, so you become audience there. You are passive. You cannot change the course of action. आपको पता है, आपने फिल्म देखी है, आपको पता है हीरो वहां जाएगा तो फंस जाएगा, आप थिएटर में चिल्लाओगे मत जा नहीं तो फंस जाओगे, तो भी हीरो नहीं सुनेगा आपकी बात, because you are audience, you are passive. Okay, there is no interaction there. Okay, so these are the three different participations. Plus we also have to think about with whom we are talking. Okay, you are talking to your child, you will be talking differently. You're talking to your parents, you'll be talking differently. You're talking to your teachers, you'll be talking differently. You're talking to your boss, you'll be talking differently. You're talking to a stranger, you'll be talking differently. So your participant will also affect your language. And that's why it is an important aspect of communication. E, that is, what is the purpose of the speech event and what should be the result? So that is, communication is going on, why we communicate. For example, right now we are having a class, we are discussing about something. Okay. Why? What is the reason? Why are we having a class? So here there are two possibilities again. One is outcome, the purpose from cultural point of view. From cultural perspective, what should be the result of this event? Let's say there is an event, that is a marriage ceremony going on. So from a cultural perspective, am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
My
sir.
internet, yeah, my internet is not stable.
Yes,
That's why
sir.
I'm asking. Okay. So if you go to a marriage ceremony, you are participant there. So culturally, the basic purpose of the marriage ceremony serves is there is a bride and a groom who will be considered legally wedded husband and wife after that ceremony. So that is the cultural outcome. Okay. And for that purpose, there has to be consent from both the husband and the wife, the bride and the groom. There has to be authenticated person who does the uh, what we call process of marriage, and they should be blessed by the kith and kin and the relatives. Okay. So that is the cultural point of view. But goal, the purpose of individual participant. Okay. So participants have different purposes. Though you are in the same ceremony, same event. Okay. Some participants may be worried about their train. Some participants may be worried about the food. Some participants may be worried about the meeting they have the next day. Okay. So all the individuals have different goals. So there are two types of ends when we are looking at a speech event. One from cultural perspective, final outcome, which is socially known outcome. And the second one is goal, which is individual goal. Next is A. A is for act sequences. That is, what are the speech acts that make up the event and what is their order. Okay, like what I just said, that in speech act, how you are arranging that speech act in an event, that will change the meaning. Okay, that where should we use greeting, where should we use introduction, where should we use conclusion, where should we use discussion. These are all different acts and they should be ordered in a particular way. Apart from that, the form, that is how something is said, and the content, what is said. Okay, these are two separate things, but they are interrelated. So suppose if I say it is very hot here. Now it may mean, okay, this is one way of saying this is my content. It is very hot here. Okay, this is my form, not content. But by saying this, I may be telling you that switch on the AC, or open the window, or switch on the fan, or bring me ice cream. Okay. So all these are different meanings that I want to convey with this statement. Okay. So the combination of this form and content will create a meaning, and that's why we call it act sequences. And next is K for key, the tone or manner of performance, how we perform our speech, manner or spirit in which the speech act is carried out. For example, I am saying something, but whether I am saying it in seriousness, whether I am joking around, whether I am very formal while delivering that thing, or I'm in a serious mood, I'm perfunctory, I'm painstaking, I'm informal, I am presenting it in a scientific journal. These are different keys, and based on the key, the based on based on how you present the idea. Okay, what is your presentation? The listener will take it seriously or take it jokingly. Okay, so that is the key. Okay, so if you want to convey a serious message, you have to use the serious key. Then we have instrumentalities, that is what is our instrument of communication. Okay. What channel or medium of communication is used, and what language or variety is selected from the participants' repertoire. So channel could be oral communication, written communication, or sign language. These are all different ways of sending the message. Forms could be a language, standard language, dialect, code, varieties, registers. So based on our participant, मुझे पता है कि मेरे सामने वाले को हिंदी समझ में नहीं आएगा, तो शायद मैं कोई और लैंग्वेज में बात करूँगा। अगर मुझे पता है कि मेरे सामने जो बंदा है वो एक स्कॉलर है, उसके सामने मुझे स्कॉलरली लैंग्वेज में बात करनी पड़ेगी, तो मैं वैसे अपनी लैंग्वेज यूज़ करूँगा। Fine. So here our selection of a particular instrument becomes important. Then you have N for norms. So norms of interaction. That is what socio-cultural norms are used to interact. Okay, as I gave you example of how do you do. So that is the norm of interaction. And in a particular culture, certain things are accepted as normal and people do it very regularly. But in some other cultures, it may be considered abnormal, and or it can be considered taboo, and people don't ever talk about it. So before we communicate with anybody on any topic, we should be aware that whether it is acceptable topic in their culture and society or not. Similarly, norms of interpretation, when we interpret the messages that we receive, we have to follow the same norms that the speaker is using. So in the speech community, that will be same. But if you are doing a cross-cultural communication, okay, then probably we have to be very careful in dealing with the interpretation. Yesterday only, in the staff room, Vaibhavi ma'am, in the evening when we were going around 4:56, Vaibhavi ma'am made a statement कि कुछ भूलना नहीं है, okay, because she normally forgets one or the other thing in the staff room, and then she had to come back and she made the statement कुछ भूलना नहीं है, and immediately another teacher Vanna ma'am made a statement क्या कल छुट्टी है. Okay. So now one person is making one statement, but it is interpreted completely differently by another person. Okay. Given the context that it was Friday and alternative Saturdays we have holidays, and she wasn't sure which holiday, which Saturday was this. So when Vaibhavi ma'am said that kuch bhulna nahi hai, so Vanna ma'am had this idea that it is holiday for 2 days, and that's why you have to take everything. So same statement may mean different things for different people. Okay, and that's why we have to be extremely careful when we make such statements. G for genres, the last thing, that what type does speech event belong to? That is whether it is interview or a gossip. Like if it is question and answer, one person is questioning, another person is answering, then that genre is called interview. While when everybody is equally contributing and everybody is speaking, it is called gossip. Now there will be a new genre in our communication which will be considered big boss communication, where everybody is shouting. Okay, I hope it will be identified soon. So what other pre-existing conventional forms of speech are drawn on or cited in producing appropriate contributions to talk. For example, do people quote from mythology or poetry or scripture? Like there are people who always quote from other sources. They tell poetry, they use a lot of proverbs when they speak. So that will affect the communication process. So for example, when you tell stories, when you crack jokes, or when you deliver lectures, or when you are telling, say, reciting poems, or when you are what we call, किसी का क्या बोलते हैं, प्रशंसा करना, क्या बोलते हैं उसको इंग्लिश में, when you praise someone.
Praise.
Yeah, I never do this, so I don't
Appreciate.
remember. Okay, yeah. So all these are different genres, and we normally identify. Okay, तो जैसे कोई, जैसे घर में मम्मी हमको बहुत कुछ सुनाती है ना, तो हम बोलते हैं नहीं नहीं अभी ज़्यादा लेक्चर मत झाड़, मैं समझ गई सब, मुझे सब पता है. Okay. या फिर बहुत सारे उपदेश देते हैं ना, तो ऐसा बोलते हैं अब ज़्यादा कथा मत सुना. तो वी आइडेंटिफाई दैट दिस इज अ जॉनर. ओके, ये यहाँ घर में बात करने वाली चीज़ नहीं है, बाहर जाके बात करना या अपना मंदिर शुरू कर देना, वहाँ पर कथा कहना. So these are the 8 different aspects that Delheims proposes, and while communication or while interpreting communication, we have to take care of each and every aspect so that our communication is not only effective but also successful. Okay. So now there are 4 rules that he gives, which he calls communicative competence. I'll share that also, so that uh, were you people there when I discuss about models of communication?
Partly, sir.
Partly, okay. So is there any doubts in models? Do we require a revision class in models?
Sir, let us refer that first. If we have any doubts, we'll ask you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That is only if you refer. Yeah, this is communicative competence. So after discussing all these important concepts of ethnography, Delheims proposes 4 rules that we have to follow. These are the 4 rules I have put in bold. First is whether and to what degree something is formally possible. That is, you want to say something, but is it grammatically possible in the language that you are using or not? That is the first rule. Okay. And there are certain things that you cannot actually speak grammatically in certain languages. Okay. For example, there is a proverb in Gujarati, "Mama nu ghar ketle, divo bade etle." How will you tell this proverb in English? Gujarati speakers, "Mama nu ghar ketle, divo bade etle." How do we say this thing in English?
So, what is its meaning like in Hindi?
हिंदी में हम ऐसा बोल सकते हैं कि मामा मामा का घर कितने दूर है, तो सामने जवाब मिलता है कि जहाँ दिया जल रहा है उतनी दूर है.
No idea.
May I, sir?
It's not possible. Yes, please.
Sir, will it be how far is uncle's house as far as your vision goes?
Mhm.
Something like that?
Now, something like that,
Sir,
but not equal.
Sir,
Yes,
it means
Ignesh?
that your uncle's house is nearby. It is It's not much far away.
It is not far away. Fine. So it is like it is in visible distance. But it is not possible to say in English. Why? Because we have 4 types of uncles. English people have only one type of uncle. You are not specifying in English, and you cannot specify in English whether it is the mother's brother or father's brother or mother's brother's husband or mother's sister's husband. Okay. So all these are possibilities, and we do identify them separately, grammatically, lexically, okay, which is not possible for the English people to do. Okay. Like we can say Suraj Dada in Hindi, in Gujarati, Chanda Mama, even in Hindi as well as Gujarati. But you cannot say moon uncle or sun grandfather in English. And this is a grammatical problem. Okay. That in Gujarati and Hindi, Suraj and Chanda are categorized as masculine. And that's why you can add uncle with that. Mama, Dada, which are masculine words. Okay. While English, the sun and the moon does not have any grammatical gender. Okay. So you cannot easily put any such modifier with it. Okay. So there are certain things which are grammatically possible, what Delheim says formally possible, and there are certain things which are not possible. So communicative competence, that you should have the ability to identify that whether it is grammatically possible or not. Okay. You want to convey it, whether it is grammatically possible or not. Second rule is whether something is feasible in virtue of the means of implementation available. Feasible in the sense that is it feasible to speak and listen. By rule, you can make a very, very, very lengthy sentence. You can add 5 more very with my sentence. Okay. You can make very, 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 very long sentence. It is possible grammatically, but it is not feasible. Okay. Then you can make a very complex sentences where you have the relative subject clause, relative object clause, and embedded clause. Okay. It is grammatically possible, theoretically possible, but when we speak, it can create trouble in comprehension. And that's why he uses the word feasible. Like if you have read Sanskrit drama called Kadambari, so in that drama, the poet was using sentences as lengthy as 5 to 6 pages. One single sentence of 5 page or 6 page. Okay. You don't find full stop until 5 or 6 pages. Like he's basically praising the heroine Kadambari, and he, like first praise, he talks about her fairness. So he compares her fairness with everything that is fair in the world. It is possible, and people have done it, but in speaking, it is not feasible. You may forget what we are talking about, or the person with whom you are talking, that person may not understand everything that you are speaking, because it is very lengthy. That normally happens in the classes also. Class goes very lengthy, we may not remember everything, right? So the
So we
third
can take
point,
the example of idioms now.
idioms.
Yes, like for the first point, that whether something is feasible in the first one, the first reason that we studied. In that context, we can also consider idioms, like say for example, once in a blue moon. So it is used for like something happens that is extremely rare. So we are comparing it with a moon. The color we are using is blue. So if we go according to the meaning, it doesn't have meaning. But वो एक बोलते हैं ना एक मुहावरे जो इंग्लिश में as idioms we use. ऐसे बहुत सारे examples हैं जैसे best of both worlds. So these all are also the idioms that are most frequently used.
So these are idioms normally fall into the idea of formality, that whether your language allows it or not.
Yes.
While feasibility is more to do with the structure of the language and memory limitation of the person. Like I can speak anything, but will you be able to remember everything? Okay, basically when we communicate, we want to make impact on the mind of the listener. I keep on talking for hours, then probably the person will get bored, we may not understand everything that I am speaking. Right? So this is where the feasibility comes, the grammar comes.
Yes.
Like in Bengalis, Bengali people never drink anything. Okay. Fine. So they always eat everything. Jol khaibo. So they eat jal as well.
Jal khabo.
Khabo, yeah.
Yes.
Even cigarette, they eat cigarette. Okay. While
Khabo.
we Gujaratis drink cigarette. Okay. While the English had cigarette. So grammatically, you have different perception of the things. Okay, and this is where we talk about the feasibility. Then the third rule, whether and to what degree something is appropriate, that is adequate or happy or successful in relation to a context in which it is used and evaluated. That is, you have performed something, you have said something. Okay. And whether it is appropriate in the given situation, as I gave the example of funeral. Okay, can you sing a song in the funeral, whether it is appropriate or not? Can you ask for food in the funeral, whether it is appropriate or not? So that is the appropriateness, that in the given context, what language you should use, which is an appropriate topic to communicate. That is the appropriateness factor. And the last one is whether and to what degree something is in fact done, actually performed. Okay. That is, when you perform an action, you also require a reaction. अगर मैं ऐसा बोल रहा हूँ कि मुझे बहुत प्यास लगी है, मेरे सामने जो बंदा बैठा है वो सुनेगा भी, हाँ हाँ आज बहुत गर्मी है, बहुत प्यास लगती है, लेकिन वो खड़ा होके जाएगा नहीं, पानी नहीं देगा मुझे. तो मेरा जो इंटेंशन था कि मुझे पानी चाहिए था, इसलिए मैं ऐसा बोल रहा हूँ कि मुझे बहुत प्यास लगी है, वो इंटेंशन तो फुलफिल नहीं हुआ. सो दैट इज कल्चरली वो पर्पज आपका सॉल्व होता है या नहीं, when you actually use the language, when you communicate. So that is the fourth rule, whether and to what degree something is in fact done, actually performed, and what's it doing entail. If I say मुझे बहुत प्यास लगी है, so I'm not looking for an answer, I'm looking for a glass of water. लेकिन आप फॉर एग्जाम्पल डाइनिंग टेबल पर हो और आपको नमक चाहिए, and you say can you pass me the salt. Now you are using the auxiliary can is basically used for the ability. तो जो बंदा वहां बैठा है जिसको आपने ऐसा बोला कैन यू पास मी द सॉल्ट, और वो बोलेगा यस आई कैन, तो आपका जो मोटो था वो तो सॉल्व नहीं हुआ. आपको ये जानना नहीं था कि वो
Sir,
पास
we
कर
can use
सकता है या
will.
नहीं कर सकता. या
We can use will.
you
May.
can use.
Will. Will you pass me the salt?
हाँ, will you pass me the salt? Yeah, this is one way, but people normally say this, can you pass me the salt? Can you get me a glass of water?
Sir,
So it is not
it
about
is
ability.
same as it is same as in school when we were asking to teachers, can I come in? So teacher used to say, don't say can, because
Yeah,
there we
you should.
get taught that yes, can is the ability. Why can't you come in? Don't have legs
Yeah.
to come in. This was the words that it was used, and then we were into a habit of saying, may I come in?
So there was this movie where a in a British school, a Spanish student was studying. So the student made similar statement that, ma'am, can I go to the washroom? And his teacher replies that you can, but you may not. So you are capable of going, but you are not allowed to go.
Yes.
So we normally don't make that distinction in day-to-day communication. But when it comes to completing an action, अगर जज बोलेगा कि टू बी हैंग टिल डेथ, वो उसने एक पनिशमेंट लिख दिया है और उसके बाद जब पुलिस वाले वो काम नहीं करेंगे तो इट्स अ बिग प्रॉब्लम, जबकि अथॉरिटी ने वो बोल दिया है. बट देयर इज नो पर्लिक्यूशनरी एक्ट कि वो ऑर्डर होने के बावजूद उसको फांसी पर नहीं चढ़ाया जाए. सो दैट्स अ ब्रेकिंग ऑफ नॉर्म, ब्रेकिंग ऑफ रूल. So we break such communication rules every day. Okay. And this is where the ethnography is important. And this is what he said, that in order to be a good communicator, we have to master these 4 rules of communicative competence. Then we can discuss and we can use the language appropriately. All right, so I don't want to go any further. We have already taken 1.5 hours. I hope everybody is there.
Yes, sir.
हाँ, इसी पर पानी नहीं छिटकाना ऐसे.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, any doubts, any
Yes.
questions that you have?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
I hope not. So now about the assignment. Okay. In assignment, I have given one dialogue. Okay. So you have to, there are 5 questions related with the dialogue. So you have to answer those questions based on that dialogue. And then you also have to use the ethnography of speaking model, that is SPEAKING. Each term you have to apply on the dialogue and you have to explain it. Okay.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
So
Okay, sir.
should I be expecting your submission by 15th?
No, sir.
The submission of the assignment by 15th?
No, sir.
No?
सर नहीं हो सर, क्योंकि सीएजी का है और सबका असाइनमेंट साथ में चल रहा है अभी.
Sir, sir,
ICT
sir, today is 10,
CAG.
so we can submit the assignment by 18. Means next Monday.
Today is
This Monday to
Saturday.
next Monday. Yes, sir.
Fine. You have to, anyway, you have to send it through mail. So don't
Okay, sir.
forget to write your enrollment number in your assignment.
And sir,
Okay,
where
sir.
will I find the assignment? I have not
I
received it.
Okay. You are newcomer. So now, okay, could you
So we
people
even
please?
want this PDFs, like this ethnography of communication and all. This
Okay.
we
Yes,
haven't
sir.
received.
I will, can you access this team? Even after the class, can you access this team?
Sir, we'll try. Actually, I downloaded, but as you have informed us yesterday itself, so I downloaded into my laptop. But right now, I'm using it through browser because it was not connecting to the a downloaded one on the desktop. So it's in the browser. So I need to check whether it's working or not in the team.
Okay. So please send me your enrollment numbers. WhatsApp me on my WhatsApp number. So I'll mail directly to you people assignment as well as PDFs.
Okay, sir.
On
Okay.
WhatsApp.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. On in the mail, in the NUV mail, I will be sending you the PDF
Okay.
and the assignment.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
So send me your enrollment number on my WhatsApp number.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
sir. Yeah.
Okay. Then we will stop here. Thank you everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
आज आपको सपने में भी डेल हाइम्स और मैं
Thank you,
देखूंगा.
sir.
See you all. See you on
Thank you
Monday.
very much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Have a nice day, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.